All right, welcome. Don't know how long this video is going to be. Hopefully not too long. Haven't been uploading much in the last week or two. Life's been busy, and I did have some VASSAL mods I had to get off the queue for some publishers that I was making. But I finally finished those, submitted those, and then I wanted to continue on in campaigns in Europe. I think that was one of my last videos looking at the expansion pack, which is kind of what we're looking at right now on the screen. And there are some good mods actually now for all four magazine games. There are VASSAL mods available at Decision Games, but I haven't seen any yet for the expansion. So I said, I guess I can take these and make my own. I don't. In my previous video, I showed the graphics and stuff. Uh, Unfortunately, it was a lot bigger project than I thought, just due to the large quantity of counters. They're the small original size counters packed in. They're like 200 plus per counter sheet. Each one's unique, which I couldn't do in War in Europe. War in Europe, each one doesn't have a designation. So it was rather straightforward to make the counters. These, you'd literally have to make a counter for every counter. And every counter has a backside. So I won't get into the details of making how I do my graphics. I've been playing with ways to automate that. I haven't succeeded yet, but hopefully a more graphic-based AI can do it. So, if that happens, that's nirvana. But anyway, enough of that. I've been building the mod, and I decided to just go ahead and build a mod for campaigns in Europe from scratch. Actually, at this point, I'm just building out the expansion portion, but I've anticipated pulling over the other magazines here. And the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'm going to show you in a second, is campaigns in Europe, France 40. I'm going to do the France 40. There's a whole bunch of scenarios, covered them in the last video, but thought I'd start with this one because I did War in Europe before. The France one, I'd like to do this one just to see how it plays out. Quite a change from my drive on Leningrad there. And here I've got the player aid card. You've got the axis set up here. Um, then we've got my arrow key, of course, doesn't work now. Yeah, there's that. And then we have the Allied set up here. So I'm going to be working through that. And I'll just pull this off here for a second. Hopefully not block something important. Um, but this is where I'm so far where I'm at with setting up for the France 40 scenario. I've got all the allies counters loaded up into the mod. I'm still working through the Germans right now, and I haven't got all of them. I just have an example one here, but just following the setup instructions. These are placed within certain areas, but just to zoom in and look at the graphics, I like it. It looks nice. So, we've got the Nederlanders here setting up, and the Belgium. Here's Ebenal at reduced. That's interesting. Then we've got, the British Expeditionary. They're allowed to set up somewhere in here. These French are all set up here. And you've got Maginot Line and the token British division here. And this does include the Italians. I do have the Italians loaded, but I didn't put their counters down. I should have. It would have looked nicer. There you go. That looks scary. Heavy mountains here, and these are free setups too. So hope to be starting this soon. I've got to get through getting the Germans into the module. I've already clipped the counters. It's just putting them in, and then hopefully we'll start out and do this is next in my queue to start playing through. So that's my initial focus. I did have another game. I'll mention this later, Imperial Stars 2 going on. I'll hopefully finish that out. But I did start looking big picture. In theory, what do I want to do the rest of the year? And I did kind of want to focus more on series. Like, for example, this campaign in Europe. I mean, there's a whole slew of operational scenarios. Now, yes, it is limited to Europe proper, so we're not doing Scandinavia, and we're not doing the desert, hopefully yet. But there's a lot of stuff covered here from the Russian front up to 43, and then we've of course got the Western front Here we've got the fall of France, but we also do have the Italian and the post-Normandy front. So a lot of gaming here, a lot of stuff to cover it. So I would say this is my operational level World War II game of choice right now, if it continues to play out well. Um, yeah, I do want to show you something I found interesting. I'm trying to figure out, this was the same problem in War in Europe. The air power, that's the only time, that's one of the biggest, I would call it game functions that you may need. It's not easy to play solo. So I started playing again with AI, and I think I have that up here. I asked a question of AI to see if it could give a strategy for that. Let me pause here. Okay, here again, I mean, well, actually I do I haven't used it a lot yet, but there's Google Notebook Plus here. Um, so I did ask it the question over here. What it does is you load up a whole bunch of resources, it crunches them, and then it can answer questions based on them. So amongst other things, I decided to ask it, let's see, and I did scan the packs, player aid cards, and um, the expansion pack, so it can chew on that too. And I didn't really give it a good prompt. I don't see the question here, but I just said Germans have 12, French have 6. What's the best commitment of French? And I could do the same thing for the Germans. And it doesn't actually pick one, but it then discusses maybe you want to focus on air superiority. Maybe you want to focus on ground support. Since I didn't give it context, it started quoting D-Day to the Rhine. Or maybe you want to interdict. So, and then it goes into a long discussion, rather interesting, about the strategies and different things to do. And it ends, the French players should likely prioritize either supporting a critical ground attack, if they were doing one, or focusing on interdiction to disrupt German ops, rather than directly challenging German air superiority due to the imbalance there. Commit a significant portion of TAC air to support a key offensive, allocate the remaining to air superiority or mitigate German air support, etc. So could do something like, here you go, you got 3 strategies, just randomize and pick one. And I could do that for each side. So maybe that would be the vehicle to try and automate somewhat how to handle the air power commitment between the two with the different strategies and then rolling randomization and then see what happens. I mean, if the French aren't planning on attack, you basically boil it down to these two. And maybe add a don't take off option. And then, between those strategies that AI has generated, roll the dice, whatever, randomize, and go from there. So just thought I'd share that. This seems pretty interesting here because that is the biggest hurdle I've got um, from a solo point of view is how to handle the air power since it's simultaneous commitment. So, but enough about campaigns in Europe. I don't want this video to be too long, but I did start thinking what are some other series. There's a bunch of great games out there. There's too many games to play in a lifetime. Um, and I'm still working too. So, I'm thinking maybe focus on a series and then I can learn the rules and then there's so many situations I can play. So I've got here World War II operational, but then I'm starting to think about World War II tactical. I'm not really wanting to necessarily do a strategic. There's plenty of good stuff out there, but it's pretty much one set. But if you go tactical, you can get a bunch of scenarios, etc. There's a bunch of tacticals out there, ASL. Um, it's the first one that comes to mind, and I've dabbled with that playing the retro, but there's a big rules overhead. Um, if I had nothing else to do, maybe I could do that. But I was thinking, from a World War II tactical point of view, what would I like to get into that could cover a lot? And that led me to Flying Pigs Old School Tactical. Partly because, too, I recently got copies of OST Volume 2, Western Front, 3, Italian Front for some work I did. and I'm on the hook for the Kickstarter, which supposedly has cleared customs when this video has been taken, so hopefully I'll see that in a few weeks, of OST-1 reprint with Stalingrad. So I'm thinking, hey, learn this system in tactical battles in World War II. I'm pretty much, again, European focus. I do have the digital copy too of OST Pacific. So all those. Um, that would then be my series rules to handle World War II tactical. Um, and there's Vassal mods out there, so that's the other good thing. I don't have to make a Vassal mod for it. I've listened to some videos. It seems a manageable system and relatively realistic. I'm not downplaying any of the other systems. I'm just trying to pick one that I can get into, and once I've mastered the rules, I can cover everything. They haven't done early war. Now, from what I understand, I listened to a video with Shane, I think his name is Shane Logan, and that's the next one they're doing. Is they're going to go maybe early war, fall of France, or that period, Poland maybe. And they've still got again North Africa. I don't know if Scandinavia gets its own. Um, But they've got the main western covered. They've got the main eastern covered from the relatively the beginning to the end. So I'm going to pick this one as my World War II tactical um, game series. I'm going to try and master so I can do that. So just wanted to throw that out. Now I did say, well, if I'm doing that, let's think about other conflicts. So the next one I'm going to mention is World War One. And for World War One, we've got Der Weltkrieg, operational, again, a series to do many battles. That's what I'm after here. There's a bunch of good games, single battles, etc. There's a bunch of good strategic games. I'm not necessarily looking at strategic again. Seems like World War II here. I'm just looking more at operational, and we'll see tactical in a second. So at some point, I want to dig in and start. They've got the intro game Tannenberg. And again, another requirement of this obviously is there is a Vassal mod here. I've got the Tannenberg Galatia one here. This looks like a reasonable Vassal mod. They do hex sides now. I'll have to get into that, how they do this. And I think his name is Nanguaya, does this game a lot. So I'll probably look at some of his videos. But yeah, I want to get in, and I've read some good reviews about this system. And I do have the games. They're in storage. I've never had a chance to play them, but they do cover everything actually. Maybe later I'll do a review, although it's been done. I'd refer you to, I think it's Nanguaya, his videos. And some other people have done it on Schroeder SPW, I think, and they're a subset of decision games, yeah, SPW games. But they cover a lot. I had a list somewhere. Um, yeah, that's Tannenberg, but they literally cover, let's see, oh, here we go. This may show it here. Yeah, these are the what they call the standard rules. Um, oh, 1916. Okay, this is a specific one for these battles, but they do cover the Western Front in detail, cover the Balkans, the Russian Front, the Italian Front. So with this is, I want to do World War One operational. This is the series rules that I'm going to try and master and learn here going forward. So we got Der Weltkrieg for World War One operational, and then World War One tactical. There's some out there. Actually, there's a series I was involved with. I think editing the rules or something. This is years back, and I started Vassal mods for it. I don't know if anybody else has come up with them afterwards, but I think it's Tiny Battle Publishing. Here we go. And it's their in the trenches system. In the trenches. And here's an example here. There's a number of those. I've got the digital copies too. You can find on Wargame Vault. Um, and they're specific battles. It's not, again, it's a system. It's not as tactical, let's say, as we do in World War II, but yeah, this is Devil Dog, so needless to say, we've got some U.S. Marines here. And I've played through this a number of years back, but there's a whole set there. I've built some Vassal mods, or a Vassal mod for it, and I haven't made one for all the expansions, but they even cover in the Pacific. They've got a version of the game. They have tanks come in. So again, this is what I'm thinking of. In the Trenches is called ITT. You can get it from the physical copies you can get from Tiny Battle, and Wargame Vault has all the digital copies, which I like because it's easier to make Vassal mods out of those. But yeah, let me see. I think I got the rules for that. Yeah, here's the rules for World War One Tactical. John Gorkowski. He actually published this before it went to, and I had the copies of those too, of this before Tiny Battle kind of took it under their wing here and published. Yeah, Devil Dogs 2. They've got the different scenarios. Um, One thing I do notice, OST also, you don't have a, I think Lock and Load likes to do this, a dynamic campaign uh, and a battle generator where you can randomly generate battles. Yeah. There's plenty of scenarios here. Same with OST, so not necessarily a big point, but that could be something that would be great to have added onto this. So there we go. That's World War One, Operational Derfeld Craig from SPW, Under Decision Games, and then the In the Trenches system from Tiny Battle Publishing. So World War One, World War Two copy covered. Where do we want to go next? I think our next stop is modern. And this is a more modern game. It isn't necessarily a system here, but I've been intrigued by. Recently got the copy of the Red Dragon Green Crescent Deluxe Edition. Number of reviews out there. I think the Player Aid uh, channel really likes this game. They've done some reviews. They've played it, and I want to give it a shot. It's an approachable naval battle. I mean, that slipped my tongue here. I think Compass Games are the ones. They've done more detailed versions of this. China Sea, I think it's called, etc. While this one, it's not too complex, but you have lots of choices. So I do want to definitely give this a try out. Problem right now is there is no Vassal mod for it. I've done the photos and scans, so if I want to, I can try and make one. Well, I can make one. I'm not worried about that. It's just don't want to duplicate effort if somebody else is doing it. Um, Kind of got my hands full with campaigns in Europe expansion pack. That should be enough. But you do see here. Here's the Red Dragon portion of it, and the different areas and the combat. Not super realistic, but that makes it more playable. And then you've also got if I can get my arrows to work, here's the Green Crescent. Um, this area around India, Iran, somewhat timely. And the good thing they did with the deluxe edition too is they've upgraded it to more modern, the latest weapons and even potential future weapon systems here. Yeah, and here's some of the counter sheets I've already done the scans for, and you do have ships that don't exist. What's the CVD? Here's, we don't make, well, that must be an amphib. CVL, interesting. Sixth generation fighter, NGAD. Heard about that in the news recently, so they got a counter for that. We don't know if those are actual accurate values for it, but who knows, without a security clearance. Got the Russians there. There's the backs. Yeah, a whole bunch more people. South Koreans, North Koreans, etc. So I want to give this one a shot. I want to see how it plays. Um, this is most likely we will have a naval battle into the future here. Yeah, and there is. I also have the computer game just came out, Sea Power by Microprose, I think. Really, I may start. I've got Command Modern Operations. I'm getting into computer games now, but um, this is kind of stuff that hopefully somebody will make a Vassal mod, or maybe I'll even ask them if they want me to make it. But I think I'm free up now to make more, so I'll check and see if they need somebody to make that. But this is from a modern point of view, this is where I want to go. I want to try this game out. Now, from a series point of view, I got a bunch of, I don't know if you call it strategic or operational. I've got Red Strike from VUCA. I tried to get into it. I'm sure it's a great system. I've got Iron Sky. I forgot what it's called from the Italian company. That whole series too. But from a rules overhead point of view, I'm thinking, well, Compass Games, Third World War, the classic, revamped. If I had to pick an operational, I think that's where I'd go, just also because of the theater coverage. They're actually doing Pacific portion now too. Um, so I'm still wrestling with that modern operational. If you got any inputs, that's great. Um, Again, I don't have the time to dive too much into really complex rules. So we'll see. And then modern tactical, I don't know. I've got Lock and Load's latest. I've got both of their tactical games. Um, I've got all the MBT stuff from now GMT, Jim David. I don't know if I want to, I'm wrestling with that. So the modern area beyond this game here that just came, and I want to try it out. Um, I just don't know. Um, from a series point of view, operational and tactical. So playing with that, but my queue is obviously really loaded, so this may be enough. Because there is one more area I want to cover before I call it here, since I'm already at 21 minutes. So let me pull that up. And that would be sci-fi. And if you've been following my channel, Imperial Stars 2, I'm doing a playthrough. Also because they just kickstarted a deluxe version of this coming out, which I signed up for, a remake of this game. And it's a 4X, but it's not too intense. I mean, uh, like GMT's more detailed and extensive, which I'd love to get into also. Space Empires, I think that's it, right? I think I got it right. Yeah, there's even an online way to play it that enforces the rules. I forgot the name, Board Game Arena or something. I mean, if I played that, I would probably use that because it enforces the rules. But again, I'm probably going to stick with Imperial Stars 2 for now. I'm partway through the game. Low counter density, short game. You can tell the map is smaller here. Um, and yeah, I've made a Vassal mod for this, the original version for Victory Point. And I'm not using all the optional rules. So it'd be interesting to see how it continues to play. So I'm going to continue playing this. Part of the reason too I was going to use it was to generate starship combat situations that I could then recreate in more tactical starship combat systems. And there's a number out there too, but then that of course leads me to my biggest project, at least in the area of sci-fi, beyond this game here, which is, drum roll please, partly Starfire. Solar Starfire is the latest iteration. I got interested in it. It goes way back. Task Force games. They made it in parallel with Starfleet battles back in the old days. They had the whole Starfire system. I played it, and I've tried to revisit it here too. And then this is actually continued on after Task Force, I guess, went out of business or moved on, and now it's Starfire Design Studio. And this is their latest iteration, Solar Starfire. I don't know if I've talked about this previously. You do see the dates are up here. And 2024, this is actually a release candidate for an update they're doing. They graciously sent me a copy of this, but Starfire is full 4X here. Tactical combat between starships and full campaign, the whole 9 yards. And a lot of people do this. They run, it's a lot of spreadsheets and building your empire and, doing combats. I think there's even a way to pull this off solo. And I've always got AI to help me. But this is a somewhat all-encompassing system. I think I've already done a video on this. But I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many. Yeah, what does it get to? 380, 400, 400 plus. 570 pages. Okay. And they talk about everything under the sun here. And I can pick and choose. But I want to use this maybe. I could use this to generate systems, empires, etc. But the thing I want to do is all that traveler stuff too. And again, just to qualify here, when I look at traveler, I'm not looking at so much as an RPG where I have a character and I'm, going through the galaxy and all of that. And I do kind of have that. I have my scout crew I'd love to get back to. But I want to take a look at this, all, from the space combat point of view. They've got a solid space combat system here that I'd use, but maybe also from the bigger picture, making a universe and seeing how it harmonizes as well the traveler stuff I have, which actually I put all of that into a Gemini notebook too, and dry run having it generate systems using the rules, and it actually does a pretty good job. So I'm going to wrestle with this, but I want to see how I can take all this information and basically use it to build a galaxy or a portion of a galaxy and building empires, um, economics. I don't know. It's still kind of banging around in my mind, but I do also want to run the tactical space combat system, um, just to see how it's similar and different than the older style version too. So this is kind of my big project from a sci-fi point of view, is kind of pulling all of this stuff together and generating, I don't know, generating a whole story here. So that's sci-fi. Uh, Obviously, it's enough to keep me busy since I still work and I have a family. So we'll see if this is way too ambitious, this whole picture here. But and I did obviously leave out, if I had to pick areas, Napoleonic, Civil War. I mean, if it's Napoleonics, I'm gonna revisit OSG. I did some videos on them back, and I'd love to get back to that at some point. Probably some battles in Russia. Civil War. Well, I've got Fearful Sacrifice. I mean, everybody's talking about that. I don't know if it's so much a system. That's, again, something else I have to grapple with, but, I may visit those. And then the other thing in the background are computer games. I mean, Wargame Design Studio literally covers Operational Tactical World War II, Operational Tactical World War III, Operational Tactical World War One. Through their squad battles, they did a module for that. They don't have any sci-fi, but they do, and then they got Civil War, at least from the operational, and then the Napoleonics, kind of the operational tactical. That seems almost another thing to jump into now, and also the other things I've mentioned with Sea Power, Command Modern Operations, the Combat Mission Series. Holy smoke, too much to do and not enough time, but we'll see. What's next on the project here is I'm going to try and get this Campaigns in Europe, Fall of France going scenario, and I want to finish my Imperial Stars, and then I'd like to start digging into OST um, going forward. And at some point going forward after that, we get into World War One, and my big sci-fi project. So we'll see. Anyway, enough. I have done 28 minutes. I'm a hair under 30 minutes. So this is where I'm going to break. That's my plan going forward, if you're interested. I just wanted to put this up there to let you know still here. I've got big plans. But again, real life trumps plans, so we'll see. Like Clausewitz, I think it was Clausewitz who said, no plan survives meeting the enemy. So we'll see how my plan does with that. So anyway, enough here. Hopefully I'll get a video out later this coming week. Campaigns in Europe, hopefully, if I can get through the Germans and getting those counters in, or Imperial Stars too. And then off we go to the rest of the year. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the next one.